Let's see what format they have. Oh.
Okay, we are live. We are going to start as we always do. Minister Edwards.
Let us go to the Lord in prayer. Gracious God, we give thanks to you for one more day, God. A day, O Lord, that you have blessed, you have kept us, and we are grateful. We pray now, Father, as we invoke your presence in this evening's meeting. We ask, oh God, for clarity of purpose. We pray, God, that you would allow those that shall speak on this evening to speak to us, oh Lord, in ways that we might comprehend. And Lord, we ask that you would be in the center of all that we do in the name of justice. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that Representative Dubose, I invited Representative Dubose, but I wanted you to bring Bob with you as well.
Well, Madam President, not only do you
This
have
is the
Bob,
NAACP meeting.
that's right, and Madam President, not only do you have Bob, but you got Pumping Up Pat.
I was gonna text my representative and say, well, could you bring her with you as well? You know, because we want to, when we say speaking truth to power, we mean just that. You know, it's some tough days, and I know that you all are tired and all of that, but we rely on you, you know, to make sure that we get the best that we can for our community, and we rely on your leadership. And so I want to hop right onto this. I want to start with Representative House Bill 1. And for those who may be unfamiliar with it, yes, and maybe you can let Bob tell you. But
Madam President, you know, myself and Representative Williams was kind of talking about this update, and we were going back and forth, and she was like, should we open or close with one? And then she was like, well, maybe we should close with it. When you say open, she said, oh boy, so we coming wide open if you want us to start with one.
I do.
That's fine. That's fine.
Truth to power. Okay.
Truth to power.
And for those who may be unfamiliar, start from where we were, which you all walked into, and then where we are today, if you'll be so kind. Go right ahead.
Okay. First off, I want to thank you, Madam President, for hosting this, and the NAACP for always being in the fight with us in this journey that started over the summer back in September. Just a direct result of the murder of George Floyd. And when we did what we historically do as Black folks to get some justice, we know how to get in good trouble and to assemble and have peaceful protests. But back in September, the governor of Florida decided that that was a problem, and that he wanted legislation that we call the anti-protester bill. It's House Bill 1, and why that is so significant is because over the past couple of sessions, the first couple of bill numbers have generally been reserved for the speaker, which basically says that those are priority bills, and that's the message that's sent out. So this bill being the number one bill tells you how significant of a priority it is. And so this bill and this legislation was being crafted as a result of the peaceful protests and Black Lives Matter. And then we had the insurrection in January. And so they filed this bill to try and mask what the true intent of the bill is. And so it's very timely that we come to you today and reference the House Bill 1. Today, House Bill 1 was up on the floor, which means it has traveled through all its committees. And we, today, on the second reading, we entertained questions about an hour or so, and then we had amendments. And so tomorrow, starting at first thing in the morning, 9 a.m., we will be on the floor. And because Madam President told me to bring Bob, I'm gonna just keep it real. All hell's gonna break loose on the floor in reference to this bill. So that's kind of taking you where we started and real quick where we at. And I'll allow my colleague, I'll this one time address her as Representative Williams. But again, Madam President told us to leave all that formality at home. So now I'll turn it over to Pompano Pat and let her weigh in on this.
Thank you, Madam President, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this bringing truth to power. As he stated, House Bill 1 was presented today on the floor, and the purpose of the bill itself is to pretty much shut us up. They don't want to know the roots of the cause of someone to actually protest. They want to tell us how to protest, how long to protest, and how many people that we are allowed to have at our protest. That's pretty much House Bill 1. As the question went forth today, as amendment was put forth today to try to make this bill better, if you can, I started out on the first committee. And as soon as the bill was presented, I did a strike all.
Explain what that is.
I'm going there.
Okay, go ahead.
A strike all means that you take everything out of the bill and you put something in that would make it better.
Okay, she being nice. A strike all was she took that garbage trash bill and threw it in the garbage, and she wrote her own bill in place of that bill. So she being nice about it.
Yes, I did. Because we don't wake up overnight and say we're going to protest. There's a reason for the protest. And in order for us to get to the root of cause, why people actually protest, there needs to be something done beforehand. For an example, have you put out a task force to find out why people are protesting? Have you put anything in the community to sit down and talk to the community leaders to try to find out what are the roots of the problems? No, we have not. You came up with this brilliant idea. Brilliant idea to shut us up, close us out. And every amendment that was put forth today to try to make this bill better was not taken, was not accepted. So when we don't have a seat at the table, when you're putting something together, you don't want us to be part of the process. You want to put something in front of us and we're supposed to just sit there and take it and not say anything. Not so.
Madam President, I'm still waiting on Pompano Pat to show up because I feel like I'm dealing with Rep. Williams. Look, the bill was trash. It ain't about making nothing better. It's so bad. I mean, this bill infringes on our constitutional rights. I mean, you know, historically for people of color, This is how we got
It's a
our
major
rights. You
problem.
know, they tried to attach this bill to a single moment and try to attach it to an organization. I tell them, when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm not talking about a group that you just learned about. I'm talking about the history here. When Emmett Till was killed, that's Black Lives Matter is what we were saying. When MLK was protesting, we're screaming the same thing. And the problem is that my colleagues across the aisle don't understand. And in their mind, and just the state we in with the past clown that some call president has emboldened people to take these certain postures. I remember 2 years ago, one of my colleagues, we were there was a debate and she was presenting a bill, and one of my other colleagues asked her. He said, "Would you agree that there is implicit bias?" Her response, quote unquote, was no. So this is a mindset. These folks are, in my opinion, ignorant and need to be educated. And so when we put forth amendments, it's a process to try and make it better. But I'm telling you, they could have taken every last one of our amendments. I still wouldn't vote for the bill. There's so many things. Not only is it constitutional, there's constitutional issues. There's things in this bill that are as simple as they're trying to protect Confederate monuments. Today, when my colleague opened up, Representative Fernandez Barkeen, he opened up talking about property, talking about what happened in somebody's building burning down. And I'm sitting there, and then when he went to talk about George Floyd's death, he stumped him. I'm like, bro, just say his name. So this is kind of the posture that we're in. So, you know, today it was questions, wasn't a whole lot, but I'm telling you, y'all, you need to log in, because again, I feel like all hell gonna break loose.
And when you try to compare the two, for an example, when Black Lives Matter group was about 400 people that was there in Fort Lauderdale that did a peaceful protest, peaceful. The police officers showed up in riot gear. 3 months later, you had a group that not only did a protest, they stormed the Capitol, got inside the Capitol, took over. If that group looked like me, wouldn't have never got to the Capitol steps. But they don't see the comparison of the two. They don't see anything wrong with that. Anything we put together, anything we try to show them, this is the problem. This is why we protest. We become the people that's making the problem. They don't want to hear anything that we got to say about why we riot. They don't want to hear anything about the problems that we have had because of the color of our skin. They don't see that. They don't want to hear that. And when you go through the bill line by line and you point out things that's wrong in this bill, you're the problem. You're making a problem for all of us because you're speaking up. They don't want the voices here to be heard, to the point in the elevator. You get into it because they want to tell you how to present something, what you're supposed to say.
You talking about my incident? Because I tell them what happened. But
it's right now it's at a point where everybody is on edge. So I already know tomorrow it's not going to be a pretty sight.
And Ralph Williams is Pompano Pat is right. There's so many things in this bill, you know. So there's increased penalties.
For somebody that have never been arrested.
Defense if there's a protest, or if someone hits somebody with a car, then there's a defense there. I mean, and I see Judge Kyle Evans, Judge Holmes, and you guys, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the legal parts of this, but I've never seen a bill that is just so grossly awful. I mean, when you talk about throwing in the kitchen sink and the things that you're putting into this bill, it was just an all-out attempt to silence folks. I mean, it's a form of oppression. this thing is an assault on communities of color. I just call it what it is.
To the point where the portion in the bill, if you have never had a problem, but you get arrested because you are protesting, you have to stay in jail over the weekend if the court systems are closed, in order for your first appearance, in order for you to be released. Not whether your record does not matter. If they arrest you because of this House Bill 1, you stay in jail until you can go before the judge.
How does that work with juveniles?
It doesn't change, it's still the same.
It does. I'm trying to think. I don't think it speaks specifically to juveniles in regards to the riots and the protests, but I think
and not at all. It's all in one.
Yeah.
So to the lawyers that are on, so since it is silent, as it doesn't give an exemption for juveniles, that would mean that they would have to remain in the juvenile facilities as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when we had the protest for DeLuca, and let's say that we were going to protest, this thing passes and we want to protest, how would that affect, or how would things have been different? As far as permitting or participating, because we had a lot of children out there. We had ministers, the city.
And you could be charged with a felony. I mean, it has mob and riot, the definition as far as the number of folks.
Right. And if we were peaceful protesting out there, as you're stating, if someone felt that we were doing something that they didn't want us to do, they can run us over with their car and they can get off free. Scot-free, no charges.
They could use that as an affirmative defense. But if you're out protesting, you can be arrested and charged with felony. They increase the penalties. They will hold you until appearance, which means they'll keep you overnight. So whereas you had a peaceful protest and you're out, now this particular law will if there is a peaceful protest and then someone shows up who is not peaceful and they antagonize and something happens, well, now these folks who were peacefully protest can be arrested and charged with a felony. So in the case of the DeLuca Road and what happened, the penalties are increased. Folks who be charged with felonies. I'm just trying to think too. Yeah, so I mean, those are the primary things that would happen with that particular incident, that fact pattern, I think.
And let's talk about the budgeting part, the impact that it would have on our communities, on their budget. There's no dollar amount in this budget, in this bill, that it will cost our cities. It's nothing showing the dollar amount that it would have the impact on the state. But, quote unquote, he's stating that this bill does show an impact toward each county, municipality, and the state. But he can't give you that figure.
So it's creating could potentially create an unfunded mandate, but what's probably more glaring is the preemption. So basically, initially the bill said if a municipality or local government changed its law enforcement budget, that an individual can show up and protest that, which then would create a hearing with the governor and executive branch in regards to that funding. Well, they've changed that, and now they've said if they put that into the state attorney. So where it was a citizen individual, now they're saying the state attorney can trigger that. And the problem with that, and the question was raised, and it wasn't necessarily addressed today in questioning, is that, say for example, a law enforcement, because there's general budget, what does that mean? If they receive grant funding and that was taken away, then would that trigger that? Or if the law enforcement department decided they wanted to allocate funding to say mental health or something like that, would that trigger this issue? And so where that's a fundamental problem is that you would now have budgets that are designed to meet the needs of a local community where the people have elected their local officials who can understand what the needs are. And then you're kicking it up to the state level, who has no idea to now come in and change the budget because there was an adjustment. And that's a more direct piece where they were trying to address or put something in response to the defunding of the police.
So they're taking away the authority of the local officials to make decisions in the budget where they feel necessary so to do for the community. That's another part of the bill itself.
So when they say peaceful, what determines something what has to happen before? It sounds like anything before it is deemed not peaceful.
Yeah, it's anything. I mean, the way the language is written, and those are some of the questions, because some of it is so loose and broad, but there's also if there's an intimidation factor, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's you and two other people and there could be an altercation, like that is really not clear. And so that's, you know, I mean, there's so many things wrong with this bill. It was poorly written, not really defined. And so the one thing I will say I wanted to open up with on this before I forget, we're taking this bill through the whole process in the House. It has not moved in the Senate. That's kind of, you know, we're prayerful that if it doesn't get any traction or it doesn't move, then hopefully it would die. And today there was a poll that came out that said about 63% of Floridians think this bill is a bad idea. And then actually with Republicans, it's a little over 50%. So the majority across the aisle is kind of a bipartisan response that this bill is a bad idea. There, within the allied groups like the NAACP, ACLU, even some right traditional conservative groups are not in favor of this. You know, you have, you know, like say Planned Parenthood, and you have the other side, some of these groups, the Catholic bishop groups, and because they want to be able to, you know, assemble and protest, although they're on both sides. So this bill is so bad, it has caused groups who are traditionally, you know, polar opposites to come together, because both of them could fall under the umbrella of this awful bill.
And as he stated, that the Senate House has not heard the bill itself, but we are in Tallahassee. Normal circumstances will be the House and the Senate both has to do the exact same thing. But because we're in Tallahassee and things just happen overnight, that does not necessarily mean that this bill still would not pass, because they make things happen the way they wanted to happen.
That's true. The thing I'll say, the bill creates the crime of mob intimidation and cyber intimidation by publication. I mean, it's just to give you an idea how loosely this is an interpretation that, you know, just depending on how it's interpreted, and I'm no lawyer, no judge, or claim to be, but you folks deal with this, and you know, when we put stuff in statute, and if it's poorly written, the interpretation, and in my opinion, is open to who's interpreting, and many times we see, you know, a lot of times in the judicial system, it does not bend in our favor. So that's something else. This bill is 58 pages as of today. And again, it has everything in it from the kitchen sink. It's just a trash bill. It's a very bad bill.
And so the back when we were talking, using an example of DeLuca, our then assistant public defender was with us in defense of, you know, the DeLuca and not being treated fairly and actually being mistreated and a victim of, we believe, police brutality, police misconduct, certainly. So if this thing passes, then Mr. Weeks could no longer or should no longer participate. Otherwise, he could end up down at BSO.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mr. Weeks, did you hear that?
Madam President, you know, this bill is designed to create a chilling effect all throughout the state of Florida. It is an example of a rogue governor trying to assert his power and authority to suppress the power and the voice of the people. It's clear what this bill is designed to do. You know, he saw, and everyone saw across the nation, protests that stemmed from George Floyd that caused people to wake up to the importance of the issues that Black people face every day for years and years throughout this country. And as that awakening started to happen, you know, the governor recognized that he wanted to put some roadblocks in place and create some hurdles to slow that awakening, to try to stem the tide of people's voices being heard, and thus created, you know, some very, very questionable infringements on the freedom of assembly, the freedom of speech, protests, and it's clearly designed to suppress people's ability to speak power and truth to the government, and truth through assembly, and truth through protest. That's what we have done in order to get them to hear our voices. We have to continue to push back against these very poorly drafted bills. And I commend Leader Dubose, and I commend Representative Williams. You know, we have to put this in a context. And I don't want to take all the time, but this bill just gets me so riled up. They are in the minority. They're in a minority. In a legislature that is, you know, 2/3 straight up on another party. But they still are standing up, speaking and fighting and pushing and making folks know that this is a poorly drafted bill and what it's designed to do. So I commend them for standing up, even though they're faced with numbers that are not supportive of them, and continue to do it. So this bill is bad, bad, bad all the way around.
And so to the representative, what can we do? How do we help?
Well, Madam President, continue to do what you've been doing over the past several months. The NAACP, again, we have been messaging. We have been bringing light to this issue. And as I stated earlier, there was a poll that came out, and it shows that the majority of Floridians think this bill is a bad idea. And I think a lot of that has to do with us working collectively and to educate our people and to make people aware of what's going on and how bad and how much of an overreach this bill is. And as you know, Public Defender Gordon Weeks stated, how it infringes on our fundamental rights to protest, to free speech, and all those things. And when you put it in that context, it crosses the aisle, it crosses racial barriers. But if we're gonna keep it 100 and talk about it, this has, to me, the most detrimental impact on the Black community, communities of color. We know what these very tools are and what it has afforded us and how we've gotten here. You know, we know how to get in some good trouble and some necessary trouble, and that's how we have effectively gotten change. And we still have a very long way to go. Unfortunately, last year, the death of George Floyd really removed the veil and exposed the underbelly of this country. And now we are in the posture to have a real conversation, because as much as the world was alarmed, Black folks are like, this ain't nothing new to us. This what we've been telling y'all for decades and generations. And so I think that even, when this bill, passes the House, we have to continue to have this conversation. We have to continue to talk about these things, because you know what? Since George Floyd, there have still been deaths and killing unnecessarily of Black folks and Black men. It's like a modern day lynching, the way they're just killing us execution style. So what we need you all to do is to help us amplify the voice of our people and our community, and continue to do things like this, continue to have real conversations, and just let folks know what's going on. So if we know, and again, if we're all singing from the same hymn book, then people are informed. And, at the end of the day, these folks are going to listen to, who's voting for them, what their folks are saying about this. And the more this becomes unpopular, then that's how we affect change, by not having the majority.
And I see you mentioned about protection for Confederate monuments. I see the president of the Lake Wales branch on, Mr. Sean Kinsey. And I also see, I believe, Mr. James Mawakil, who's in Lee County. Now, Mr. Mawakil has been working to get Robert E. Lee statues and monuments taken. They started, but they haven't finished it. And all of a sudden, they're slow walking. So I'm thinking, as you were speaking, perhaps they're slow walking it after having initially agreed, because they're waiting for this bill to pass. And then they don't have to move it, and then perhaps put the other one back. What are your thoughts?
Well, the thing with the bill is, the monuments is, if you do anything to them, I mean, there's, they can arrest you, right? And everything is stiffer penalties. But again, this bill is bad. I'm hopeful that it may not become law if the Senate stays in the same posture. But as my colleague explained, things happen. So we're counting down the days. We're kind of at the midway point. We got about another 30 days. But I think, struggle and fight ain't nothing new to us. And we got to continue to do that. Through struggle comes strength. And that's why we some strong folks. But either way, we got to continue to fight these fights and not allow these monuments to stay up and come up. But once we get through this, this too shall pass, and we'll have another fight that we must fight. But we have to stay together, and we are understanding what power we have when we stay together, we stay informed, and we vote. And I think all of this is continuation. We don't wait until it's time to vote. There's so many issues. This is one. We have redistricting coming up. So this right here is the perfect example, the perfect form and format. But we got to do this all year long. We got to continue to come together and talk about these issues and address them.
Representative Williams, I believe you were walking through a bill that had to do with arrest of children and the age, so they can stop arresting these babies. Tell us about that, please, ma'am.
That's correct. Currently in the state of Florida, we don't have a law that prevents a child of any age from being arrested. I started out with the age of a child under the age of 12 not being arrested. They would not hear the bill. I went and spoke to the Speaker of the House, and doing the negotiation back and forth with him, it went from 12, and then I got to 10. When I got to 10, I was like, well, at 10 years old, they're still babies to me. He said, well, in order for you to get that bill heard, you have to drop it down to age 7. So that means, according to the law itself, if the bill passed, a child under the age of 7 would no longer be able to be arrested. And he said that some bogus story about a child running out of a classroom, getting hit by a car, nearly getting hit by a car was the reason that he went to the age 7. So with that being said, if they arrest my child under the age of 7, my child is going to jail. If his child does something, they're gonna call him and tell him to come pick his child up. That's why he don't see the difference with arresting a child, my child, versus arresting his child. A child under the age of 7 do not need to be arrested. We need to find ways to assist the community with helping to raise our children and keep them out of the system. But they don't understand that. So the bill has went through one committee. It has one other one left. Once it passed that last committee, then it goes on the floor. Hopefully, Florida will become the 23rd state to have a law of minimum age arresting a child. But you never know. Sometimes it get caught up in politics. If you say something out of the way to the person that has the ability to have the bill heard, they won't hear the bill. So, for an example, if I am the chair of the next committee that the bill is supposed to go before, if I vote against something that he's bringing forth, he won't hear my bill. If I say something to him out of the way that he don't think I should stay in my own lane or I should stay in my place, he won't hear the bill. So those are the kind of games that is played here. So with me being a big mouth, with me speaking out for the people that I think I love and born and raised and around, it keeps me in trouble a lot here. So I say it's good trouble, necessary trouble, because I'm not gonna sit and let you do anything or say anything to me or the people that look like me in the district that I serve. That's not gonna happen. You don't mistreat people, you don't do people wrong. Do what's right when you're in leadership position. That's what being a leader is all about. But because they have the numbers, because they feel they can do whatever they want to, that's what they do.
Well, I certainly applaud and thank you, because I honestly thought that with new leadership, because we don't have we have I guess an unwritten policy about arrests here in Broward, and so I thought that with the new leadership, that policies would be rewritten to address the issue of these babies getting arrested. And I'm saying in Broward County, to both of you, the numbers are up, particularly 11-year-olds, and they are primarily Black boys. However, I'm disappointed that as of this day, we still haven't gotten that from the state attorney's office. Certainly we haven't given up, but I had hoped that it wouldn't be this hard, that they would, that criminal justice would reform would come and we'd start moving in that direction. So, I mean, it is certainly much needed when it comes to babies, because I can tell you now, we saw, I believe it was from it's actually from Mr. Weeks' office, sent it out, what's called Missed Opportunities Report. And missed opportunities meaning that they were, misdemeanor children who had never been in trouble before, who should have been afforded opportunity for a civil citation, but law enforcement decided to arrest them instead. And so, that would be very helpful, certainly, and for all children, but certainly children of color, because as the representative said, they have their own justice system where they get called and they go home and our kids do not. So we certainly appreciate your efforts. It's needed so very much, because our children are being railroaded into the juvenile justice system as we speak, like nobody's business. So I'm hoping to have additional meetings with our to do something better than what we have going on now.
And even with us even with the bill being put forth with the age 7 on it, one of the members still voted against it. They didn't like the idea of a child not being, not the police officer not having the ability to arrest a child.
And she gave him a piece of mind in the committee meeting.
Now we understand why you had to take Pompano Pat with you everywhere you go in that Capitol. We get that.
Oh, Pompano Pat been live and direct. She went off on the man and told him on the committee at the time, you don't like you. And but the good thing is, because it appears it's postured to make it out of both chambers, because you only have 2 committee stops, right?
I only have one other thing.
And so when a bill has 2 committee stops, considered favorable, fast track, because traditionally you'll get 3. And when a bill has 4 or more, 9 out of 10 ain't going nowhere. And then also it's moving in the Senate as well, correct?
Right. And the committee picked it up as a committee bill. Also.
Oh, okay. So they put in a committee bill. So it'll be traveling. And I think in the Senate, is it at 7 or is it still at 10?
It's at 7.
It's at 7. So, again, you never know. There's still opportunity to get that number up. But, Rep. Williams and I talked about this, and, she fights real hard and passionate about things. And that age 12 was something that was deep with her. And I said, you know what? You'll be here a couple of more sessions. And a lot of times legislation takes a while to get through. But if you get on the books and you take all the babies that's 6 and younger, then you come back next time and try to grab some more of those older kids off the books. So.
And I looked at it as a way of saving all of them under the age of 7 or saving none of them. So I didn't want the age 7. I wanted to have been at 12, or I would have accepted at 10. But at this point, I have to take what they're willing to give. And at this point, they're just saying at the age 7. So I just, save those one that's under the age of 7, and hopefully that we get the opportunity to come back and work for the ones that's 10 and under.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
And
if I may, this is the Lee County NAACP branch president, James Ward-Kill, and also Regional 4B area director for the state of Florida NAACP. And I've been in on the entire conversation, and I've been just writing furiously regarding some of the many great points that everyone is making. A few minutes ago, Madam President, Ms. Marsha Ellison of Broward, brought up the fact that we have been fighting to remove these hate symbols of the Confederacy that recommends and suggests and sends subliminal messages to races, which leads to subliminal seduction, meaning that races feel justified in continuing to oppress Black peoples and other peoples of color. There's a strong relationship between those symbols and races who are in society who now wear police uniforms, superintendents of schools, judges, and other peoples. The school to prison pipeline is really what happens when children are arrested. Here in Lee County, we have been talking with the school district now for about 10 years regarding alternatives to the school to prison pipeline, meaning bring back in the counselors, the guidance counselors. When you look at children of color reasons for acting out in school that often leads to their arrest, it becomes a social ill, because more than likely that child comes from a single parent home. And so when they are suspended out of school or arrested, when they are arrested, one of the things that happens with that child and also that family is that often it takes them about 6 months after they are released. They serve an average of 21 days in the detention center if they're not released to their parent the night of, depending on the charge. So often it allows the child whom parent works all day, it then allows the child to have a lot of free time to then get into other mischief. When if they was in school, they could still perhaps be held accountable for their disciplinary misconduct.
So what's
And
your
at the
question, Mr. President?
At the same time, just my question is that does the First Amendment, and I heard her speak of that, the First Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment, could those amendments be used to combat this bill in Tallahassee? Because if everybody remember, after the Civil War and emancipation, the Civil War, the 13th Amendment was written, signed, and agreed upon, there was a need to create the 14th and 15th Amendment, granting full citizenship and the right to vote. But states still had the right to write their own laws. And so they wrote these laws called historically black codes.
Okay, hold on, sir. Hold on.
Mr. President, that the point about the constitutionality of this bill and challenging it, we do find that there are some issues, constitutional issues, but the difference now as opposed to before, the courts have been stacked with folks that have been appointed by the governor and the past president. So that used to be kind of our recourse. We would argue the points and put it on the record, but our courts haven't been tested really on this level with such an egregious bill. So it is an avenue, but we'll see. We don't feel as confident as we have in the past. So that's a good point, but there are some issues in regards to this bill and the Constitution.
And when you look at the makeup of the Florida Supreme Court now, and not even to mention the U.S. Supreme Court, we don't win the battles we used to because of the judges that are sitting on there. So you have to consider that they've got to fight it now where we are, because you never know what will happen. And I'm sure with you have many of your colleagues are attorneys, and they have I'm sure they've gone through it with a fine tooth comb. I know that the Broward delegation has their own counsel and so on and so forth, but they've got to fight this right here, right now with us as we go. And I would defer to our general counsel for an opinion on that. Judge Holmes.
Well, good evening. It's always a pleasure to be in the company of Broward Bobby and Pompano Pat, fighting the good fight. Look, I have not read the bill, but there's some problems for the state side before you even think federal. The bill seems to have a lot of subjects, a lot of hodgepodge, and Florida has a policy for legislation that it not exceed one single subject. So there's a violation of the single subject rule. However, with the composition of the Supreme Court, lately, they've been just letting things go through. So I'm not all that confident that, you know, they'll strike it down because of so many subjects in one bill. Federally, the Supreme Court has held that the states may pass laws, but the laws cannot take away the rights of citizens. In other words, you got the federal law, which everybody has to follow, but the states can enact laws that give their citizens more rights. Okay, this bill seems to be what we call a contraction, in that there's a violation of the First Amendment, right to assemble. There is a constitutional issue with regard to a person has to be detained in court. You know, the law is that you have to be taken before a magistrate within 24 to 48 hours of your arrest. Otherwise, we call it habeas corpus, bring the body forth, would lie. With regard to the affirmative defense, that already was tested in the Stand Your Ground legislation that passed by giving absolute immunity to someone if they are found to have been in fear of their life and they stood their ground. So that affirmative defense is going to stand in that, giving people the right to ride through crowds and pummel and kill individuals. The bill seems, just from what I heard from our legislators, seems to have an issue with being void for being vague. How do you describe mob intimidation? Some people see two Black people walking together and they think that's a mob and they're intimidated. Police officers often say, I was in fear of my life. And so what's the weapon? Nobody has a weapon, so it's the color of the person's skin. What this appears to be is, as the president, I think from Lee County mentioned, about the slave codes, the Black Jim Crow laws. If you look to those histories, that's where they reach back to those days where Black people could not, more than 2 or 3 could not assemble in the same place. So they're reaching way back in the history and pulling out stuff. But you know what? All is not lost. The problem is the time. And Madam President was absolutely correct. You want to try to get this before it passes, because after it passes, it's going to take somebody to get arrested under the legislation, the statute. And then it has to travel through the courts, which is expensive. And then it finally gets to the federal level, which is expensive. Madam President, you know full well, our Voting Rights Act went through the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. And then it hits the Supreme Court. Just today, the US Supreme Court issued a ruling that a person that is about to be seized by the police, and if they are shot, that constitutes a seizure. However, there were 3 members of the court that ruled, and they dissented, saying, you run from the police, they shoot you, that does not constitute a seizure under the 4th Amendment. So the case is Torres for the lawyers and judges who are on here. So read it, it's interesting reading. So it is hard to tell, but I will tell you that Broward Bobby and Pompano Pat, they're outnumbered. Democrats just don't have the numbers. So what you have to pray and hope for that there are some Republicans that have children in high school and college, because their children are going to be subjected to this, okay? And then when the former president starts having his rallies again, okay? But we all know that there's not equal application of the laws, but these laws would apply to them. The president was adamant for number 45 in passing bills that if you cause damage or destruct a Confederate monument, that you get a 10-year minimum mandatory, or any federal or any monument for that matter. But he's silent on the folks that broke into the Capitol and destroyed monuments within the US Capitol. So there is no equal application of the laws. We need more legislators with good sense. or at least know how to fight and get in there and not you say yes to everything. But I see a long fight unless, you know, Broward Bobby and Pompano Pat take a few of them in the bathroom and, you know, kind of do
Hey,
what you do.
Judge
I'm
Holmes,
thinking no ideas. Huh?
Judge Holmes,
I'm
do
just saying, go
not,
to the
do
bathroom
not,
with them.
don't tell your sorrow that. Because this one up here, she be ready to fight every.
You gotta go to the bathroom, you know, you go. Sometimes you have your best conversations in there with people.
Well,
Okay,
let me,
but
let
check,
me,
hey, Sarah, check the stalls. Make sure you know all the people there. Thank
But,
you, Madam President.
Judge Holmes, to that point, there is some hope over in the Senate, and from my understanding, several of the Republicans over there aren't comfortable with this legislation for multiple reasons. And so if we can, you know, hold fast there. The other thing I want to just say, in the House, we took a caucus position, and of the 42 members, 41 were present. And so what that means is we are obligated, we have to vote this bill down. Now, I will say this, again, how you all can be helpful. I identify all of them, all 42, and including the others, don't limit to there, but just let them know you are watching them. Although we are small in number, we are mighty, but our challenge is that some of our very own will not necessarily stand with us. They'll we keeping it real, right? They get bought off or, you know, sold out or whatever, promise something, and they're gone. But that's why we have a caucus position. In fact, Pompano Pat called for the caucus position, and we went through procedurally, and we have this caucus position. But I will tell you, that ain't always 100% guarantee. So let everybody know you're watching them, because folks will slip and vote. They might be absent, they might not show up, but on this one, I think all 42 of us need to be accounted for. So that's another way you can help.
You had 41 or 42 was the number one that was missing. That was at Bush. I heard.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
He had to magically just go to the restroom until after the vote was over. That's where the word on the street is.
I'm gonna lay it out with the Pompano Pat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I thought once I read the bill itself, I felt so strongly about it. I went to a leader, said, Leader Dubose, we need to take a caucus position, and I would call a caucus position for this. Because if we continue on this road the way that they are trying to carry on, is the more things change, the more they remain the same. And I heard my grandmother fighting for the same thing. I heard my mom fighting for the same thing. And I would not be here in this caucus if I would not be willing to fight for what we have already went through so my kids would not have to go through.
And I think the caucus took some other positions on some criminal justice bills that you were I think historically working, you as leader worked with the Black Caucus on a legislative caucus.
Yes, ma'am. So what we did is we came up with what we call fair and just policing, and we have legislation that the Legislative Black Caucus took the lead, but however they partnered with the Democratic Caucus as well as the Senate Caucus. And so we had the policy chair in our caucus is Representative Fentress Driscoll, who's also serves as the exec. You got that, Judge Holmes?
Yeah,
let me stop and say.
And Jasmine Shirley and Sonia Mara.
Let me just put it out there. Let me put it out there right now.
Okay.
We got out of Divine Nine, now the Deltas have the most. They got 4 Deltas in the House.
And one in the Senate.
And one in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones in the House, they are really doing an outstanding job. In fact, the first time, as far back as I can remember, the Democratic Caucus is majority female. And of that, within that, the majority of them are Black women. So sisters holding it down and doing the thing. We Fentress Driscoll, we have, of course, Pompano Pat, we have Michelle Rayner, and Felicia Robinson. And so they are really fighting the good fight, taking the lead. And like I was saying about Rep Driscoll, she has worked on this all summer. We have put forth really good bills, I think. And so the challenge is to get them heard. The one thing about this process too, I'll put out there, we have great ideas. We put them out there and they don't get heard, or they'll take our ideas. So Rep Williams, Pat's bill she was telling you about for the youth and not being arrested under the age of 7, that bill will make it through, and we're happy, but it won't have her name
my
on
name
it.
would not be attached.
And that's what they do. And we're fine with that, because at the end of the day, we just want good legislation that's going to serve a good purpose and be applied equally in our community. So again, yes, Delta's doing the thing, and I know you like that, Judge Holmes, and and actually 2 of them are attorneys. Rep Fentress Driscoll, she's an attorney. In fact, a little side note, she was the first Black to be elected student body president at Harvard. And she graduated from Georgetown Law.
Okay.
And so the sister bad.
Okay. I'll have to, isn't Representative Hinton up there? Isn't she?
Oh yeah, Representative. So we
Okay, got some smoke too now.
we do have some AKs in the house, and they bad too now. We only got 3 though. We only got 3.
Davis.
We got Rep Davis over in Jacksonville, and just a segue, I know we probably run out of time, but she's taking the lead for us, because not only are they doing this bill, but they've kind of crafted and put together a voter suppression bill that I just want to bring to your attention. We've had it, they've heard it over in the House, and Rep,
what's in there.
What's in there? So the House version, they're looking at things where they're the drop boxes, the vote by mail. Again, it's kind of like HB1. They put a lot of things in there. Over in the Senate, that version is worse. They're in the Senate. They want to get rid of early voting days. Basically, get rid of souls to the polls. I'll let Rep Williams talk about it, because she cited ex officio in that committee for us. But it's bad legislation. It's trash too. I just need a big old dumpster to dump all this trash in.
Well, normally I would not have had the opportunity to serve on the committee. Well, someone was out that day, and I have actually became the person that they call upon to go to the committees when someone
raise
is
some
out.
hell. Go ahead, tell them.
Okay.
But one of the things that I was so disappointed in is, like, we have a lot of senior citizens in the district that I serve. And if they call and need someone to actually come pick up their ballot and drop it off for them or get it to the mailbox for them, they are trying, in the bill itself, you would not be able to do that anymore. You have to go drop the envelope off. If your driver's license do not match what's on the envelope that you're dropping off, they don't want to accept it.
Yeah, they're calling it voter security to secure, whatever their talking points. But that's one of the sticking points too in the House version, is that they don't allow for a designee. So you could have a senior, like Pat was saying, that lives, in an assistant living facility or a senior home, who doesn't have family and just has, say, the nurse that takes care of them, and they may be still an active voter on the vote. This legislation wouldn't allow that caretaker to take their ballot in. There's, like she said, signature match they're going after, more ID, drop boxes.
Anything that they can do to deter a person from actually
Right.
voting is in that bill.
Right. And they had the nerve, my colleague, I caught this part of the committee, and he said, you know, I just take offense. This has nothing to do with voter suppression. This is about voter security. I'm like, come on, bro.
Like this is our first day.
Right, like, yeah. Like I look like I got JoJo sausage head written across my forehead. Come on.
Well, I think that if Broward County puts 900,000 votes at the polls, they know that one of those parties is going to be in trouble. So the last thing is Broward to vote in those numbers.
Well, the crazy part is that, you know, they set the rules. So we play the game, we play by their rules, and we win. You know, the vote by mail thing, that was their thing. So now there's a problem.
We have mastered that game. Now they move the goal line again.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, they definitely do. So
we also did the safety religious.
Oh yeah. So I know we kind of ran out of time, but today we had, so there are 3 bills that we'll vote on tomorrow. Of course, House Bill 1, and they're calling it combating police disorder, but it's the anti-protester bill. And we'll be debating and voting on that. The other bill that's been somewhat controversial is a civil liability bill. And basically that bill is denying folks access to the courts, and also it's giving liability to the businesses, but not to the workers.
Not to the workers.
So that's kind of long short. So that's another trash bill.
That's what the
and
COVID.
Then they have, COVID liability bill.
Right.
And then there's HB 259, and they're calling it the Safety of Religious Institutes. And basically that's allowing guns
to carry.
And the challenging part is that there's a component that they think it's just this may be an avenue to bring guns into the schools, because several of the churches use the schools, church. So they're trying to set up legislation where you can carry the church
on the school campus, a church.
So those are the 3 bills that'll be up, and you'll probably see a lot of social media posts. I've been pushing it out. Williams pushing it out where you can just kind of click and link. We start at 9. I'm pretty sure we'll be into House Bill 1 by 10. And I think that's primarily it I wanted to give out, but also just to kind of give you a little bit of some of the things that I'm working on before we close out, Madam President, if I can.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a couple of bills. One's kind of a legacy bill. It's students with disabilities. It's a bill that defines restraint and seclusion. Some of our most vulnerable kids in school, there's nothing on the books. And so since we started reporting this and keeping track in 2010, we've had over 80,000 cases of restraint and over 20,000 cases of seclusion. And some of these kids can't speak. They come home, bruises, bleeding, and sometimes we've had some results of death. So this legislation will put some parameters which calls for training and other stuff. Another bill that I have, and this one is really personal to me. It's a rare disease advisory council. We don't have anything, and so I share my story. I lost my mom to a very rare disease, and scleroderma. And so this council will allow for a platform for people with rare diseases. There's about 25 million people in the country, and there are about 7,000 diseases that fall in this definition. And that is if you have a disease that affects less than 200,000 people. And so this will allow a platform where we can bring in like minds to make recommendations, not only to the medical community, awareness, but also just give this population a platform. 16 other states have and they do it. Another bill that I introduced, it's a transportation facility designation, but basically what that is to do a street designation back home that will acknowledge the Reuben Stacy. And Reuben Stacy was the first Black man to be lynched in Fort Lauderdale. And what did I hit them on? Oh, and that's it. And Brett?
Okay, one of the bills I put forth, but they're not going to hear it, because when you're shining a light on evil doing and darkness, one of our local
See, now that's pumping on Pat, but go ahead.
I am a foster parent. I've been fostering for over 25 years. And when we have groups and organizations not following the rules and not doing what they're supposed to do, we have missing children. For an example, if we have 500 kids in the foster care system, we deem 400 of them as runaway kids. What's that additional 100? You can't account for it. They're not looking for them. They don't know if they've been human trafficking. They don't know if they're dead or alive. So I put forth a bill to bring a task force to actually look for those kids and report back to DCF what's happening with those kids. Why don't we know where they are? I don't think it's going to be heard. Why? Because you're shining a light on something that should not be happening. But we are taking these people, children, out of their homes. They can't account for them, and we're paying people to actually do what they're supposed to do to make sure they're safe. The bill has been sitting there. No one has put it forth to be heard. So I doubt very seriously if that is going to be heard this year.
Well, she need to tell y'all the story, the whole story. So she found out a kid was missing in her district and they couldn't account for the kid, and she went off.
Yes, I did.
And the man, and who the secretary?
I talked to several people, quote unquote, that's in charge. I got a call from a young lady in the district in Broward County, saying that she had a kid in her possession. Someone dropped them off from several county lines outside of Broward County. And she was trying to sign the child up for school, but she couldn't sign the child up because she didn't have proper documentation. So when she called, it was like she was kind of rambling, trying to explain what was going on. So after I got the bottom line, I called the people that was in charge, quote unquote, of who dropped the child off. In the foster care world, if a child is in your home, someone's supposed to come visit that child every 30 days. That child had been in the district for 60 days. Nobody called, checked, came by, or knew that child was even in Broward County. I spoke to the person that's in charge in Broward County. They had no knowledge of the child being there. I went beyond the group of people that should have known they were there, and I spoke to the person that was in charge. No one knew that child was in the district, Broward County, for more than 60 days. That's what prompted me to put forth this bill. The bill has not been heard. I'm still trying to get information about how they go about. Is there a checklist or anything that they're supposed to be following to make sure the children are safe? And I have not heard anything. That's one of the bills. Human trafficking. We are now third in the nation for human trafficking.
Wow.
I think if we start educating our children before they actually become high school students, it will assist us, and it will assist the children to learn what to look for in the darkest time of their lives when someone is trying to coerce them to do things that they shouldn't do. We allow children in our homes, in foster care systems, to actually be in the light, but not in the light. Hiding in our own, hiding in plain sight. Quote unquote, we have homes that children are living in. They can check out in the morning and they don't have to report back until after a certain time at night. Human trafficking happens all day long. It just doesn't happen at night. So these are some of the things that we need to start educating our children so they are aware of some of the things that's going on in plain sight. We spoke about 303, which is the minimum age of arresting a child. Those are the three that I'm really pushing forth this year, this session. Hopefully we'll get some traction on at least one, maybe two of them. And I would be happy. I would have done, reached my goal.
Well, you got one
this
of them
session.
already moving. I think that was gonna be law.
Okay. Well, we're gonna keep
work
our
on
finger crossed and pray about it.
We're gonna keep working on it.
Yes, we are.
And Laura Richardson asks, is there anything that we can do? Or what can we do to help your bill get heard?
Again, reach out to the legislators, call. And here's the other thing too, and you would be surprised. The reason why I say that is because this process, a lot of it's about relationships. And there are folks who are home and in the district that have relationships that we aren't aware of. And it's a complete different conversation when a member just gets something from a random person. But if you know these folks up here, you give them a call. And when right now, it's just Pat talking about this, but we write op-eds and you raise this profile. It took Rep. Brown a long time with the maternity bill.
Since she's been here.
Since she's been here. And so, but now, the speaker is taking it on, that we're putting $90 million in it. And as opposed to women, getting 60 days, they'll get a whole year of maternity leave. And so that took time, but people kept talking, people kept elevating. So although we're in the minority, and again, they took her bill and put it in another bill, but Rep. Brown is ecstatic. She just had a baby and, but these are the things where you could.
Good law, good legislation without her name on it. She has been working on it since the time she got here.
Right.
Now it's at a place where it's actually going to be a law, but they took her name off of it.
Yeah.
So these are the things. And we're at the point now, it doesn't have to have my name on it long as it save a life of a child. It doesn't have to have my name on it long as it's benefit the people that we serve.
Amen.
And these are some of the things that we go through while we're here. With the numbers being like they are, 78 to 42, all we have is our voice. And when you're putting it forth, you're working as hard as possible to make sure that we do what we can for the people that we serve.
And on that note, let me just say this about the number. It is very, very important, especially on House Bill 1, that all 42 of us vote together. We cannot allow one person so that they can say this is bipartisan legislation.
And if it was being bipartisan, any of those amendments that was put forth today, they would have taken some of them. Not one of them was accepted.
Yeah.
So we need to have your good frat brother down in South Dade, Dwight, contact his, and also Madam President of the Miami-Dade branch, Ms. Pierre, to contact Representative Bush and to see if he could go to the restroom prior to the vote. So when it's time to vote, he wouldn't just happen to be in there, because that's what I heard. That's what's in the district now.
Wow.
They were looking for him and he was convened. That's the oldest trick in the book, by the way. Let's just say that. So I think we need to just put that out there.
Well, I heard he was. I heard he was in a meeting with some pastors.
Yeah, they started the pastor one, but they said when they looked for him, he was in the bathroom hiding out when it was time to, that's what his constituents told me that I spoke to, that's where he was. He wasn't in there voting like he was. That's what I'm saying. And so
he say you're on board.
He
say you're on board. So
well, we need his vote to be on board as well. And thank you, Representative. We have conversations at our Juvenile Justice Advisory Board, and Mr. Weeks and I have been talking about, I think they call them crossover children, where they end up in the system because they are damaged from, all these issues that are going on that cause them to be in the system in the first place. And they get missing, they get into trouble, they get deep in, and, they just, not enough people care about children, in this world, and certainly in
and for you to say that when the gentleman I was talking to him about, he said, well, do you think you're the first representative that somebody called you about a child in the foster care system? I said, I may not been the first, and I'm hoping I'm going to be the last, but maybe I'm just the one that cares about the children in the system.
That is correct. People don't. That's true all day. We say we care about children, but when it comes down to making sure that they are treated fairly, and justly and avoid the criminal justice system, we ain't there. You know, the people that we put in our, if folk are not gonna do right, then we don't even, if particularly our Black elected officials, if you're gonna do to make the same vote or vote the same way as your white opponents, it didn't do us any good to put you there. So if you really care about children, let's see it in the vote and then in the policies and procedures in the offices. I want to have, let me have one question. We got like 9 minutes. I want one question that we can ask. Who do we have? Let's see here. If you have a question, just put your hand, and a question, not a dissertation, a question that you can ask one of the representatives. Just put your hand up and we can see here. So anyone that has a question, and I will recognize here. Okay. And I think, I know that Judge Holmes has been in the meeting for many hours, also with Gordon regarding our Broward County children. You know, we fought civil citation and for promise with both of you. We've been fighting for years. And so we know that we have your support when it comes to that. We know that you worked a couple of years ago to strengthen civil citation from may to shall. But I can tell you that we are the third worst county in the state of Florida when it comes to not giving children civil citation and the rest putting them into the system. So I'm going to be reaching out to both of you, along with Judge Holmes, along with Mr. Weeks, because the police are choosing to arrest, and you know who they're arresting. They're arresting children that look like me primarily, and primarily Black boys. So I want to let you know that there are ongoing meetings going on to figure out how we can hold these law enforcement officers accountable before you all cast those votes in support of changing it from may give civil citation to shall. We had to say, please, kind sir, Mr. Officer, could you please give this child an opportunity for civil citation? Well, the law says now shall, but it's up to us to hold them accountable. And so I know that there was a meeting earlier today. All I know is our general counsel was not happy after the meeting. I'm gonna get details after this. Mr. Weeks, I think you are in, I believe, when it comes to civil citation, that you still stay in the course. Is that not correct?
Madam President, I have unwavering support for civil citation in our children in this community. Every opportunity we can to keep those children outside of this juvenile and criminal justice system, we need to take that opportunity, seize upon it, and build upon it. So you will always have my support whenever it comes to any issue that is there to try to keep our children out of this system.
Thank you. And we want to make sure we thank our representative for voting affirmatively when it came down to making sure that children have an opportunity to get civil citation. And now we've got to follow up on the statute that's there. Judge Holmes.
Well, all skin folk and kinfolk, but I'll talk to you, Madam President, before I put somebody on blast, but I am ready. Trust me, I'm ready. You know, I can fight, and I do fight the good fight. So we'll talk about that. But I'm not going to Tallahassee to fight because y'all fight in the bathroom. So
that's how they do it, and around these places. Well, that's where Representative Bush, they tell me he was hiding in the bathroom. You got to start checking now. You know, next time before y'all get ready, Representative Dubose, can you look for your boy over there? You know,
he was on the floor today. He's gonna be on the floor tomorrow.
When it's time to vote, is he gonna be on there? You feel like?
Yeah, I think, yeah. He over there, Pompano Pat sit over there by. So she responds. He gonna be there.
Y'all just get your bail money ready.
I can put something on your books now. I know some good lawyers. I'm sure you're sorry, Judge Holmes. You know, get ready. We know a couple people now up in there. Don't let my representative be down there.
We ain't gonna let her go. I got her.
Judge Michael Robinson says, thank you to Pat and Bobby for all that you've done and you continue to do in the state of Florida. I want to let you know. Vice Mayor Beverly Williams continues to thank both of you, and certainly our residents, our commissioner and all of our commission in Lauderdale Lakes is thankful for the work. Many of them you've worked with prior to going to the state, Representative Williams, and they want to make sure that you know that you have full support from us. You ain't by yourself. We just got to let other folk know it as well, that we are, that we're with you. They need to hear from you, so we're good with that.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, just a second. In May, I will be sworn in as the president of the Broward League of Cities. So we have some issues that we will be dealing with. Okay, so they need to know I'm coming. Thank you.
Commissioner Williams, I
Yes.
want to personally congratulate you. Being I'm now a has-been, but that is a great accomplishment to be the president of the Broward League of Cities. And those of you who may not be as familiar, that's the body that governs all 31 municipalities in Broward. So it's a huge accomplishment. And I know you'll do well representing us, and I'm NAACP proud of you.
Absolutely.
And we will do what we need to do. Okay, it's time you can't speak up, you need to sit down. And I've never been one to sit down.
Right.
And I will speak up and I will represent you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have the support. President Patricia Shaw from the Family Alumni Association Broward County chapter is on. And certainly both of you have support of that chapter as well. There are plenty of.
President Shaw, when I look out my window, I can see the highest of the 7 hills. And actually, when I leave here, I got to go take my son Ethan's here and a couple of them young rattlers. I'm taking them out to eat tonight. So I'm doing my part up here.
I see some noops on here that came to say what's up as well. I see
always. Hold up, take a moment now.
Don't.
What's up, nigga? I see you, Campbell.
I see some alphas on here.
Now you're talking. Now if you're gonna talk about who the daddy,
you gotta say the breaking up, Judge Robbins. You gotta talk some straight talk. Now, if you talk about no green apartments, we can talk.
I see some cues on here that's want to be letting you know that always working.
My 1911 brothers. Right here.
I see Madam President Howard of the of her group that she usually is on. And I see, of course, I see Mr. Ftlbroward Williams, a former commissioner here, who has always, I've seen him wear some funny looking colors that look like yours as well.
Another good news.
As well.
That's right. New to the house.
So, dude.
I see Golden Victim number 44, Dosha Johnson. I think you know, Ms. Johnson.
Oh, Auntie Dosha, where's she at?
Oh, it's on here. Okay.
I can't show my face, but I'm here.
Hey,
I see Laura Richardson, who's not only NAACP, but the National Council of Negro Women. That's on as well. Sure that you know.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us.
Always. There's plenty of support. And I see your Auntie on there, Anita Manning on there. I see your Auntie. She always,
Anita.
Yeah, she's always looking out for you.
Hey, Auntie.
Ken Evans, thank you for joining us. Ken Evans, thank you for joining us as well.
Ken, I'm in the morning. We're gonna actually, Pat, when you get home, tell your buddy Judy Mount that Ken was on.
I was on the phone with Judy talking about this issue.
Okay, yeah.
So we just need to, you need to make sure. I see our state attorney, Mr. Pryor, is on.
What's up, little bro?
How you doing,
Gator?
Representative Bowles? How you doing? I learned a new name for Pompano Pat for Representative Williams. So I'm gonna change her name on my phone for that one. So thank you everyone for that one. Hello everyone.
So we want to thank you certainly for speaking truth to power. We always want to do that, and I can say that before I had an opportunity to contact Representative Dubose, he has contacted us, and I'm on my way to Tallahassee. You know, this is what we got, this is where we are, this is what we want to do to make sure that we are always aware of issues. And there's always just he's always just a text away, quite frankly, when we're starting to, to do work and want to be about the business of the people. He not only lives in 33311, he is always with us all the time. You don't have to wonder where his vote is going to be. His vote is always going to be certainly with the people. And Representative Williams, thank you for your continuous work. I know it ain't easy, but if it was that, anybody could do it. So we're thankful for you, and we certainly stand with you as well. Judge Evans, good to see you as well. You know, we certainly on all these people on here, we, along with supporting you, always support diversity on the bench, and we make sure that you know who we are, and who these folk are, and who they are is Cal Evans, our judge, who will be on next year's ballot. We want to make sure that folk know that, and that know who he is. I know he's somewhere everywhere, and so we want to let y'all know that, so you won't say you ain't know. He does Zoom often. Yeah, he is. You all know him mostly through his father, but Dylan has adopted him. I think Ralph Richards and some others can certainly vouch for that, and he has always been about the children. I first met Judge Evans when he was Cal Evans at the state attorney's office, fighting for us as we were fighting for children with at the juvenile division at the Juvenile Justice Advisory Board, to make sure that the children, that we let folk know that we cared and care about children. We have one juvenile judge that works with us all the time, and that is Judge Williams, who is also up next year. And also, we don't want to forget about Judge Gillespie, who, though he mean mugs us all the time, he is always about the business of the people. And he said that's his daddy face. So if you say something about him, you're saying something about his daddy, because that's his daddy was not a smiler. So we want to make sure that we stay on top of it. I think we will send out your email, Representative Dubose.
Absolutely.
For an update, so we can watch the Florida Channel tomorrow, and that we can see you and Pompano Pat in action. We'll see Bob and Pompano Pat in full effect tomorrow to know. And sometimes, we just need to see that, and then we can be empowered as well. But we will certainly spread the word on, we'll be looking to see who's voting our way. Who's not. Either you're with us or you're against us. It's only two sides here. And so we thank you for your continued work and your support. We are with you, and just know that we will work on getting folks to say that and not just complain to each other, but work for their contact their representatives as well. Judge Holmes, Minister Edwards had to get off, so we're going to ask you to close us out, please.
Madam President, before we do that, I just want to take this opportunity to again thank you for all you do and all the hard work that you do, and fight the good fight and allow us to have this this platform. I also want to just co-sign as well as it relates to Judge Evans. He is, and I know personally, he takes stock in kids, because my son Ethan has spent some time with Judge Evans, and he was so gracious as to expose him to what it is, what it looks like to be a judge. And so now it's something that my 16-year-old thinks about. And I just want to thank him. And I want you all to know that he does walk that walk. And also, I don't know if she's on here, but one of the appropriations that I have is for the community court for Judge Bonner as well. And so she does good work, and we're partnered with her. And the last thing I want to say, I think my big sister's on there, Sonia Burrows. I want to say hello to her and give her a shout out, but I want to close by saying this. I told you all, and in the spirit of Women's History Month, I would encourage you to tune in, and you will see some dynamic women throw down tomorrow on the floor. Our caucus is predominantly women, so I think this will probably be our best performance ever because of that. And I always tell people, you know, my wife tells me, if you want to win a fight, you got to fight like a girl. So in the spirit of Women's History Month, I would encourage you all to come see the fight tomorrow, because that's what it will be.
And let me just say this, that I didn't mention it earlier, but the president, one of the presidents of Zeta Phi Beta, Ms. Bridget Howard, is on, and she was not able to get on. She had a previous engagement for the Black judges, but she always wanted, she said, from the minute I called, she said, you know, we in. And so we're thankful also for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated for all the work that they continue to do. And they are always just a phone call away when it comes to support. So I don't know if, Bridget, did you want to say hi, Madam President?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invite. I enjoyed tonight. Thank you. And we're ready.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to share with you, we got one of our freshman member, Kevin Chamberlain. He's a member of Phi Beta Sigma, and he's representing that blue and white well all day, every day. He keeps telling me, Bobby, we're going to turn Tallahassee blue and white. So I told him, young brother, I give you the opportunity. Let's see what you got. So blue and white is represented well up here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, as well. Judge Holmes.
Father, we thank you for this meeting tonight. We thank you for those who are represented here. God, we thank you for our representatives and all the elected officials here. And God, we thank you for the NAACP and our president. We ask you now to strengthen us. And God, you fight those battles for us. For you said in your word that we just need to be still and you will fight the battle for us. So tomorrow, as that bill is being argued and litigated on the floor, God, you are in control because the government is upon your shoulders. As we leave this meeting, we will not leave your presence. Go with us, be our guardian angel, send those angels to be our guardians until we meet together again. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Judge George Odom, as well, for joining us as well. You ain't forgot. You got.
What's up, Brother George?
Where you from?
Evening. How everybody doing?
And so when I said alphas, you didn't speak up, so I ain't know if like your microphone wasn't working.
We don't.
He got the mind of a Q, though. He should have been a Q. He got the mind of a Q.
Judge Robinson don't let you talk. I just didn't know. You know, nobody said nothing. So, but I want to thank you all, and we will certainly be in touch. And please remember on tomorrow, HB1, and the fight is on.
The fight is on.
Have a good
Madam
night.
President, you make us all proud. Love you.
I appreciate it.
Good night. Take care.
Good night.